Okay, so last week things got a little weird. Can you blame me? I've covered 67 episodes of this show and I'm only barely over halfway. Yeah, you heard me right. I'm only halfway. But how could that be, I hear you asking? Aren't I on the last arc of the series? Well, yeah, I am. And it's over 60 episodes long. So yeah, this episode, it's a girthy one. Too girthy for me to cover in a single video, so in order for me to have this video out in time and to avoid having my editor's computer explode, I've decided to split this final arc into 2 separate videos. But trust me, there's more than enough material to facilitate 2 separate videos in this instance. And the material I'll be covering in today's video has some honestly incredibly touching and beautiful throwbacks to classic Dragon Ball moments in the series. Oh, and also, despite me splitting this arc in 2, I still need to cover more episodes in this video than practically any other review I've done in the past. And that includes the first part of this, which covered 2 arcs in one video. Why do I feel a headache already? Anyway, in this video I'll be covering the recruitment phase of the Universe Survival arc, as well as all the mayhem that came packaged with this large section of the story. Like all of my other reviews, I'm writing this introduction before I've actually started rewatching the series. So sit back, relax, and smash those like and subscribe buttons, because today we are diving headfirst into my review for Dragon Ball Super's Universe Survival arc. Slash the recruitment arc, the recruitment arc part, but also the filler stuff beforehand? Yeah. Alright, so this is pretty much the same situation as the last episode. Dragon Ball Super likes to shove a bunch of random disconnected mini-arcs and standalone episodes sandwiched in between its main story points. So I'm gonna quickly go over these to get to the main entree. But hey, on the bright side, I actually really liked some of these kinda. Episode 68. This episode isn't one of those episodes that I actually kinda liked. In fact, I really didn't like it. It centers around making a wish in the Dragon Balls or something. Goku wants to wish King Kai back and Bulma wants to wish for something else. It's honestly one of the weaker episodes for me in all of the series. Episode 69. This episode is one that I think is disliked more than liked by the vast majority of the fandom, but I actually kind of liked it because it's just so weird. It's like this strange, self-aware, but not really fever dream, but also a crossover with Akira Toriyama's 2 most successful manga properties. Also, Goku gets a slick new hairstyle for like 3 seconds, but yeah. Episode 70. This episode has the spirit of one of the most enjoyable filler episodes in the original run of Dragon Ball. For those of you out there that do not know what I'm talking about, in Dragon Ball Z there was an episode most fans affectionately labeled as the driving episode. Why, you ask? Because it was an episode about driving. What can I say? The Dragon Ball community, we're a simple people. Point is, the episode, despite not having anything to do with the main story, it didn't contradict pre-established mechanics or attempt to reintroduce anything meaningful. It was just a great slice-of-life opportunity for real fun character interactions and comedy. This episode in Dragon Ball Super, now affectionately labeled the baseball episode because they played baseball, nailed it, is just like its companion in the original anime. It's just a whole mess of fun with loads of wonderful interactions and a surprisingly touching ending for Yamcha. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites. Episodes 71 and 72. Okay, so these 2 episodes are the first of 3, count them 3, entirely unrelated separate mini-arcs, as is the nature of these pre-arc filler episodes. Anyways, these first 2 episodes and their story are serviceable. My interest was held fairly well throughout, and unlike the Goku Black arc, it had an ending that, while not special, doesn't make me want to claw my eyes out with the rusty fork. Hashtag progress. Essentially, the first episode follows a Goku that is consistently looking behind his back, paranoid that he's being followed, leading to all sorts of hijinks. But the climax of the first episode is a shocker. It turns out Hid has been given his name to assassinate and does just that, sending a blow to Goku's chest, stopping his heart. Thankfully though, Goku has a contingency plan to bring him back to life, which actually works, shockingly, in the second episode, leading to their fight to continue, with the final episode's conclusion revealing that Goku put the hit out on himself. I actually am disappointed I didn't see that coming. Episodes 73 and 74. A modern-day masterpiece of Dragon Ball storytelling, acting as the debut for Dragon Ball's new leading man, Barry Khan. The victim of success, he falls into a chasm of his own creation in the wake of a parasitic outbreak. Again, this is Barry demonstrating his range as a performer and a character. He becomes the tragic hero as the story comes to a close and the antagonist Gohan wins the day. This 2-part Shakespearean tragedy tells the incredibly yet devastating tale of hubris, betrayal, and deceit, centered around Dragon Ball's newest and most physically attractive new leading man, Barry Khan. It's 2 out of 10 bad episodes. Episodes 75 and 76. Off the back of an incredibly boring collection of episodes covering a weird parasitic relationship, and no, I'm not over the loss of Barry as the focus character. He did nothing wrong except lie, cheat, steal, and possibly plot something sinister, but who among us is perfect? God left me unfinished! This third and final mini-arc is the best of the three, and is honestly one I've returned to on a number of occasions before this rewatch, and it very well might contain some of my favorite character scenes to come out of Dragon Ball Super. And to think, it all centers around Krillin. It starts off as Goku instigates a reunion between Krillin himself and Master Roshi as they attempt to learn more from the Hermit. However, brewing beneath the surface of Krillin is a palpable insecurity that, if you know the character and are familiar with him, has always been there really. Complemented by some understated music and gorgeous storyboarding, it really drives home how isolated and small Krillin feels, no pun intended, especially when next to Goku. Coming to a head during a trip planned by Master Roshi built to expose them to their greatest enemies of their past. Krillin freezes and Goku takes action. Noticing this, Goku tries to reassure him, leading to Krillin exclaiming, "I'm not like you, Goku. I'm scared." That was a genuinely great line, as I got the feeling that while he said this, he wishes he was more like Goku. That this isn't the first time that he's thought of this, that it's something he recognized about himself, and he knew that no matter what, he's never going to be Goku. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's more uplifting towards the end, which is nice, but those dramatic scenes towards the beginning are my favorite by far. Great mini-arc. And that concludes the pre-Universe Survival Arc filler material. Not all bad. In fact, some of them were great. So, without further ado, let's dive into the main stuff. Episode 77. Finally, we are starting the arc, and what I'll be discussing today can be divided up into 3 sections. Number 1, the setup. Number 2, the preliminary tournament and matches that come with that nonsense. And number 3, the recruitment arc itself. The episode comes with some new visual updates and a brand new OP that is hoppin'. I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of the OP. The entire visual and art style is practically the exact same, with some minor changes that make a significant difference, I think. All done in post 2, to desaturate the colors and to thicken up the lines. Overall, a decent improvement, I think. In addition to these new visuals, in the episode we get a ton of setup. In short, some time has passed since the last arc that made me want to do bad things to my eyes ended. Goku is going about his farming, stopping bandits, and goes to meet Whis and Beerus for training yet again. All before remembering Zeno wanted to hold a tournament. Goku then takes it upon himself to remind the little ticking time bombs, yes, now there's 2, one from the yeeted Future Trunks universe that makes me sad to think about, yeah, that universe. Well, that universe's Zeno now bunks with this universe's Zeno, and Goku's meeting with them leads these little sociopaths to announce the Tournament of Power, requiring 10 representatives from each universe to participate. Episode 78. In the space of one episode, Goku has put the entire multiverse at risk to effectively scratch an itch. Now, I won't go as far as to suggest that Goku knew that this massive threat would happen. In fact, I'm certain he believed Zeno was nothing to be afraid of, as every encounter he's had with the little guy up until now was pleasant? Sort of. But even in that case, I'm sure he didn't directly blame Zeno, as he was reacting to something that could only be addressed that way or whatever. Point being, I don't think it's as simple as saying Goku put the universe in danger. Now, I can easily see the argument for it, and in some ways I agree with it, just not very strongly. But anyway, that's essentially the gist of this episode. The Grand Priest, a character that looks, feels, and is sometimes shot in a super evil but totally isn't evil sort of way, comes and reveals the stakes of the Tournament of Power, touting that the universes with the worst levels will participate in an elimination battle royal style match, with the last universe left standing earning a wish on the Super Dragon Balls. Oh, and they won't die. That last part is important. I actually really like this episode as it does 2 things really well. It gives us a long-term goal being the Tournament of Power and its ending, as well as a short-term goal to look forward to right away. This is tremendous for story pacing and takes the form of a preliminary contest between Universe 7, which happens to be the 2nd worst ranked universe by some metric, against the single worst ranked universe, the 9th, one we haven't seen yet. Goku is instructed by Beerus to take responsibility for finding 2 other fighters to make up the numbers for the preliminary Zeno Expo, which he does in Gohan and Majin Buu, who really hasn't done anything in Super yet except eat pudding, not share, lose to Beerus, and sleep at really inopportune times. Also, I love how Gohan reacts to Goku's news like any sane person would, stressing and looking at Goku to take accountability. It's at this point that they decide keeping the consequences of the tournament is best kept to themselves, for some reason. I don't know, it's not like the gang has a history of causing mass hysteria. They arrive at the grounds for the mini face-off against the representatives from Universe 9. 3 wolf-like warriors known as the Trio de Danger take the stage. Episode 79. First up is Majin Buu versus Basil from the 9th universe, and if I'm being honest, this fight is fun as all hell. It's by no means super dramatic or a spectacle, but it's certainly not boring either. There's some great character moments with Majin Buu, and the action is complemented terrifically by the stretching and fluid animation style. It's a refreshing episode centered around Majin Buu. It took 79 episodes to get here, but they finally did something with him. Episode 80. Next up, Gohan versus Lavender. Gohan in this episode, I was curious to see what they would actually do with him. Pitting him up against the crafty and underhanded Lavender seemed to me like the perfect complement to Gohan's good boy demeanor. And it was in a lot of ways, both from an aesthetic and story perspective. Right from the get-go, Lavender removes the use of Gohan's vision using his unique abilities. There's honestly some great action here, and it's benefited immensely by how simple the story of the battle was. Gohan effectively has to use his intelligence and composure to find Lavender. He has to feel his presence and has to wait for the sounds he makes. It's a very enjoyable and easy watch that ultimately ends in a draw. Episode 81. Goku versus Bergamo. Because of the way the last two matches have ended, there isn't really any pressure on Goku as they can't really lose the match at this point. Majin Buu won and Gohan drew. So thinking of it like that, Universe 7 is very much in the driver's seat here. And that's not to say it's a bad thing or that Goku should always be on the back foot, and he shouldn't. But there's no tension in this fight as Goku proceeds to dominate. The intrigue in the prior matchups came from us not knowing how Majin Buu would battle against, as we haven't really seen much from him. And in the case of Gohan, it was the interesting story he told in there with Lavender, but also again, us not knowing how capable he would be against the Universe 9 fighter. But in the case of Goku, we know he should be totally fine, and he totally is. So we are effectively just waiting for him to win. It's not even played out in a way that lets us sit back and watch as Bergamo understands what he's gotten himself into either with Goku. So I'm not really sure where the interest and intrigue for this fight was supposed to come from. And part of me feels like Toei Animation knew this because Toppo has a match with Goku set up right afterwards. However, all in all, Goku's final matchup against the final member of the 9th universe was the weakest of the three, I think, quite obviously. Episode 82. While all of the prelim matches have been happening, the Supreme Kai of the 11th universe, who is coincidentally or perhaps appropriately called Kai, convinces the Zenos to allow his bodyguard to fight Goku. This is revealed to be a Dr. Robotnik looking sort of character taking the stage to face off against Goku. Somewhat interestingly, this guy has a unique moveset implementing a lot of techniques in the forms of various locks that dislocate Goku's shoulder. But naturally, Goku ignores the fact that this would render anyone's arm completely useless while dislocated and yeets his way out of there before showing Toppo some of his big girthy power. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times whatever, I don't know. But we can't see any more of that fight because we gotta save it for the Tournament of Power. Next episode, episode 83. So this is the beginning of the recruitment mini-arc within which is the greater universe survival arc. Yeah, I know, she a thick one. Goku and Co travel back to Capsicorp to outline a plan for gathering the necessary fighters. Monaka is, of course, naturally at the top of Goku's list, but is quickly shot down by Beerus, leading to Goku and Gohan agreeing that themselves, Vegeta, Piccolo, Majin Buu, Krillin, Android 18 and her brother, and Master Roshi for some inexplicable reason, are the individuals that should make up the first 9, leaving one space free. So, first things first, gotta go ask Vegeta, who is having something of a nervous breakdown with Bulma just being super pregnant. Get it? Well, Vegeta can't focus on anything while his daughter is about to be born, so Whis magics the baby out of Bulma and they end up calling the kid Bulla. It's a cute episode and now Vegeta is on board. Episode 84. Alrighty, so right off the bat, I really enjoy the idea of revisiting old relationships for the sake of recruitment in this story. In this arc specifically too, as we are journeying to a tournament of power and we need to field the best team we can. Whether or not they have been an active part of the story doesn't really much matter at this point. In a convenient, albeit unintentional way, the nature of the recruitment feels appropriately desperate and slapdash, which honestly works in a lot of ways for me and was the tone I assume they're going for. Additionally, this episode is one of my favorites from a visual and choreographic perspective. Gohan and Goku venture to recruit Krillin and 18 for the tournament, leading to Gohan challenging Krillin to a spar, just testing his power, which I adore because Krillin wins with tactics rather than raw power. I'm all about that nonsense. In this match, Krillin demonstrates a new technique he's developed. It's like a super solar flare or Taioken or whatever your persuasion is. Goku seeing this gets excited, and so a contest between Goku and the Krill Dog himself is set up atop a roof. The setting and choreography for both of these fights I enjoyed, but more so the Goku fight. Futoshi Higashide, an incredible action animator, demonstrates some of his fantastically imaginative battle choreography that you really just gotta check out to fully appreciate for yourself. But then this happens. Goku, Super Saiyan Blue, Kamehameha versus Krillin. This is sort of silly. Sure, I mean, it does have the built-in excuse that Goku is holding back, but I mean, how much is he holding back? Like, All of it? It's like, what's the point in him being blue then? Just testing his resolve? 18 gets involved, leading to herself and Krillin joining and reminding Goku that this is a free-for-all, not a one-on-one contest. Episode 85. This is the episode where we finally get more than one story running in tandem with the main plot. Gohan and Goku decide to go their separate ways, Gohan to train with and recruit Pickles, and Goku to head over to Dende's so that he can find Android 17's location. On his way to Dende's, Goku discovers Majin Buu, or what's left of him after his sudden and dramatic weight loss transformation. Apparently he got all psyched after the expo and decided to get into the best shape he could. Thankfully he's a magical creature that has the excuse of using magic to lose weight, otherwise I'd be wincing again. But yeah, looking good, and their little tussle wasn't bad either. Goku then finds his way up to Dende's. Also, in this episode is some interactions between Gohan and Piccolo, which I will have more to talk about on at a later point in this video. We got some glimpses into the other Kais and Destroyer gods of their universes discussing strats, but it all boils down to nothing. Champa, however, does tell Kaba to recruit more Saiyans, so that's neat. This is also the first time we get to see Jiren, the strongest fighter from Universe 11. Cool. Episode 86. This is one of the prettiest episodes in all of Dragon Ball Super. The use of color, outstanding storyboarding, terrific background art, which doesn't get enough praise, and some brilliant animation by Naoki Tate to put the cherry on the top. It's a gorgeous episode, and it all centers around Goku's recruiting of Android 17, who has started a family after the Cell Games and settled down as a park ranger of sorts, protecting endangered animals on this island. We get a nice fight between the two, albeit an unrealistic one, I think, and we also get a small mention of Oob too. I'm glad they did this. Great episode. Episode 87. This is part 2 to the last episode, and it's really weird. And not really weird in a good way either. Let me explain. While the last episode felt like Dragon Ball, this one sort of felt more like an episode of Captain Planet. And I didn't even see that show, way before my time. So these space poachers show up because something has to convince 17 to fight in the Tournament of Power, so why not space poachers? Anyway, they steal this rare cow or something, forcing Goku and 17 to pursue the baddies. They foil their evil plans and save the super rare cow. All is well, 17 agrees to fight in the Tournament of Power on the condition someone will protect his island while he's away, and so Goku puts Goten and Trunks to protect the cow and stuff. Episode 88. And now we come to the Gohan episode. Well, technically it's the Gohan and Piccolo episode, but let's be real here, Toei doesn't give a rat's behind about Piccolo now, so I digress. This is the Gohan episode, and a lot of people will point to this as an important moment when it comes to the revival or resurgence of Gohan's character. And it is, but not really. Let me explain my point of view here. When Gohan is chosen by Goku to be a participant in his little skirmish with the 9th universe, he was very much in civilian mode. We've seen him start training again thanks to episode 30, which at the very least showed a marked improvement to the state he was in the Resurrection F arc, but let's not speak of that at this point. Point is, Gohan has sort of been training semi-consistently. But when this episode begins, Piccolo remarks, and I quote, "So this is your current level," implying either Gohan hasn't been consistently training with Piccolo, if at all, and that this was Piccolo confirming to himself what Gohan's current output was capable of, and he wasn't impressed. Then we get this interaction between Piccolo and Goku about Gohan. Goku says that Gohan is out of practice, further reinforcing the notion that Gohan hasn't been training much, if at all, since that one time we saw him train earlier in the series. Piccolo agrees to join the Tournament of Power, and also agrees to bring Gohan back up to speed. But let's not let the large number of episodes that have elapsed since the tournament was announced distract us from the reality of the situation. From the moment the Grand Priest announces the Tournament of Power, they have a little over 40 hours to field the team and ready themselves. And by the time Gohan and Piccolo have this interaction in episode 88, half of that time has already passed. Which brings me to my central argument as to why I don't like this for Gohan. While him being involved in this is nice, the cleanup for his character in this arc is the literary equivalent of sweeping dust under the rug. And they even try to harken back to his time as a kid training under Piccolo with plenty of visual callbacks. Look, it's a dinosaur! And they're eating it like steak! But the difference is that the young Gohan had a year to prepare himself for the Saiyan invasion, and even then it wasn't enough. But that was what it looked like to treat an important character with care and respect. And let me tell you, even if it's trying to tell us that this is all it takes to reawaken Gohan's power in Super, it's not in the slightest bit earned to me, and doesn't do anything except devalue the power he once had. One episode might be what Dragon Ball Super is saying it takes to get back to this point, but in reality, it doesn't begin to scratch the surface. If they were really concerned about bringing Gohan back into the fold, then they'd have given him a build-up gradually. But they didn't, because to them, Gohan isn't worth that right now. Again, I'm not saying you can't like this episode. Hell, if you're a fan of the character, I get get it. You can like it. It's great. But wouldn't you want something more substantial over something rushed and slapdash for the sake of plot? Something that's for the character and not for the character to serve an end point. Personally, I would. Anyway, that's my main takeaway from this episode, along with our first glimpse of Universe 6's additional Saiyans. Episode 89. In this episode, we get a whole bunch of stuff. It's got Goku, Roshi, and even Tenshinhan purely by coincidence. The episode kicks off with Tenshinhan in his dojo, which is cool for his character to have done for himself. It suits him too, considering his background. But the episode primarily acts as a mini-episode centered around this girl with the unfortunate reality of being named Urine. Roshi acts like a weirdo and then Goku arrives. Okay, look, essentially this episode acts as a way for Goku to recruit Master Roshi, and even though this is considered the Tenshinhan episode, he barely plays a role in it. Though he does get recruited by Goku, so that's something. In essence, Urine is an underhanded person who winds up causing mischief that gets rectified by the end. The important takeaway here is that Master Roshi and Tenshinhan are in the tournament now. Episode 90. This episode is one of those really well boarded episodes, where we get very interesting choreography, backgrounds, color, and artwork. It's a very pretty episode, but I wish the story got more care than it actually did in the end. The episode itself hinges on this confrontation between Goku and his son Gohan, who has been training super duper hard for a super long time, like at least a day. And essentially, he wants to prove to himself that he is enough to stand and fight with his father in the tournament. He wants to test his abilities, which honestly is cool. But again, he's been taking fighting seriously for like a little over a day now. When you think about it like that, it's hard to take this scene as seriously as Super wants us to take it right now. Or at least that's how I felt when I watched it. Regardless, if I was to assume that much more went into building to this moment, the episode works perfectly fine. Which means to me there's nothing wrong with the episode itself in isolation, just its build-up. Gohan and Piccolo mosey on up to Tenshinhan and Goku, challenging them to a 2v2 match, ultimately leading to Gohan pushing things super far, demanding that his father take it as seriously as he can. Which he does. Well, sort of. I mean, he doesn't go all out like Kaioken times 20 or whatever that nonsense is, but he does turn on the jets enough for Gohan to push his limits, ending in a nice father-son moment between the two characters. It's genuinely really nice to see that, and if I haven't stressed it enough already, this episode is stunningly beautiful, with maybe my favorite shot in the entire series. Episode 91. At this point in the show, all recruitment has been completed for Universe 7. Goku is training in the gravity chamber with Whis, Vegeta's screaming in the hyperbolic time chamber, Roshi is even trying to temper his desires, and so on. Through the view of the Zenos, we get to see other universes assembling their fighters too. Universe 9 is having a lot of trouble finding anyone to field their team outside of the trio. Universe 6 sees a down-and-out Frost feeling the effects of his reputation being ruined after the tournament in Season 3, as he is recruited by Hit for their team. The episode effectively hops from universe to universe, showing their key players, but the main takeaway from this episode is one of the most irritating things to come out of this arc. Majin Buu is asleep again. Episode 92. I hate, and I mean hate, the excuse Majin Buu has to be taken out of the tournament, but if it means we get someone better, it's at least gonna cushion the blow for me. So Goku goes to Mr. Satan's and completely fails at trying to wake up Majin Buu. No surprise there. Give me something good, Toei. Once he gets back to the team, Piccolo has revealed the truth about the tournament and its consequences to everyone, causing them to feel understandably betrayed after learning that they were lied to. Goku apologizes, despite it really being Gohan's idea, and everyone forgives him. They're all in this together to the bitter end. More talking happens, and then Goku is inspired to seek out a replacement. Someone far better than Majin Buu, but far worse at the same time. Freeza. This episode also covers some more antics from Universe 6. Kaba tries to teach another Saiyan recruit from his home planet. Her name is Cauliflower, and he's trying to help her to turn Super Saiyan in a really weird way. Like, he describes it as a tingly feeling in the back. Okay, dude, like, please just stop making the legendary rage form of your people so incredibly lame. Anyway, she learns to transform almost immediately. Thrilling, I know. You'd think if it was that easy, some Saiyan out of their entire population or even history would have stumbled upon the form eventually. I don't know, stupid. Episode 93. So everyone questions or straight up refuses to involve someone like Freeza, but Goku comes up with the great idea of utilizing Fortune Teller Baba's 24-hour return policy, which would give Freeza enough time to participate but not grant him life again. It's a good plan if you ask me. Meanwhile, in Universe 6, the Saiyans continue to prepare, with Cauliflower getting more and more adept with her new form. Another Saiyan by the name of Kale, a meek, unassuming, shy female Saiyan, tries to learn the form too, but fails time and again, leading to a frustration brawling beneath the surface, turning her into the green-haired legendary Super Saiyan. Whatever. I don't really know what to do with this information. I suppose she's a wild card? It's not uninteresting, I just don't really care about the character yet. We get more glimpses of other universes preparing for the tournament while Universe 4's destroyer Katila is informed of Universe 7's plan to revive Freeza, and thus begins his plan to sabotage the initiative. But who cares about that, because right now we get my favorite scene maybe in all of the show. I adore this interaction between Goku and Freeza. It's tense, there's this feeling in the air that something could go wrong at any moment with these two characters vying for the upper hand in this deal. The use of color is brilliant, and the cherry blossoms falling from the heavens representing rebirth are appropriately sinister. And that's not even mentioning Masako Nozawa's performance here as Goku. This is Goku at his best to me, and he's appropriately serious and himself, more importantly, in this scene. No stupid Super Goku here, folks. The deal, however, is made. Frieza will fight for Universe 7, but only on the condition that if they win, he will get his life back, appropriately targeting Goku's weak point. I love it. Episode 94. To be perfectly honest, this arc of the show has been significantly better than a lot of what I'd seen before. The Goku Black arc was entertaining, very entertaining, and I did enjoy it while it was on the air, but as a complete story, it left a lot to be desired. But this arc, it's so simple that it's much easier to make sense of, and therefore, even when things like Majin Buu happen, stuff like Frieza can completely reinvent the atmosphere surrounding an upcoming event like the Tournament of Power. And if that wasn't all, this episode had one of my absolute favorite moments in all of Dragon Ball. Not just Super, all of Dragon Ball. And no, I'm not talking about Frieza punching Goku in the gut. While yes, that was a great moment, it's not what I'm talking about. So the episode kicks off as Katila is stirring more doo-doo with the 9th Universe's God of Destruction, Sidra, basically informing him about Frieza and inspiring him to work together with him to assign assassins to take Frieza out before he can take part. Aside from that, Goku lets everyone back at Bulma's place know that he needs to go pick up Frieza from Baba, and after he leaves, 17 and the rest of the team start to arrive. Lovely. Great. Now time for my favorite part. A moment I honestly missed the very first time I saw it, but one that really brought a tear to my eye when I noticed it. So the scene begins as Goku is waiting patiently outside of Baba's palace for Frieza. And it looks like he's just entertaining himself, keeping busy with some sparring. And he is, but it's not just simple sparring. Goku is reliving the specific fight he had against his grandpa Gohan the last time he saw him. Strike for strike, jump for jump, beat for beat. What an absurdly touching and perfect Easter egg for those among us that would notice. Beautiful. Once that is over, Frieza shows up finally and in a dramatic fashion with really pretty artwork too. The two share a really fun character moment before they are ambushed by the assassins sent by the other universe's gods of destruction. This is such a fun situation for these two mortal enemies to be caught in together. Goku knows that he needs to leave ASAP for the tournament, but Frieza, unable to restrain himself, shoots one of them from the sky without a care in the world. Guess we're fighting our way out of here. Episode 95. And finally, we get the most action-packed episode of this arc so far. And my god, is it great. The last 3 episodes have shown us Frieza not like Resurrection F did, but at his most conniving and sinister. This is top-tier Frieza without exaggeration. Slicing through the assassins like butter, sometimes literally, and all with a smile on his face. You can tell this is the most fun he's had in a very long time, and I am here for it. One of the minions was assigned the duty of delivering a specific special attack, an energy blast given to them by Universe 9's God of Destruction. It's literal destroyer energy, and it poses a real threat to both Goku and Frieza. Frieza thinks he gets the upper hand on the blast, but it finally reaches its target and connects with Frieza. Frieza is far stronger now than we ever gave him credit for. He can overcome it and control it, returning it to size, disposing of its wielder with ease, and then using it on an unprepared Goku. This all feeds into the notion that Frieza is a complete and unpredictable wildcard in this upcoming tournament that cannot be trusted. Using this moment of reprieve, Frieza makes contact with Universe 9's destroyer to negotiate. Frieza, it's clear, is obviously not a man of his word, and at the first chance, he attempts to bargain elsewhere for a better deal than Goku offered. However, the conversation is cut short by Beerus, who blows the blast away from Goku with ease, much to Goku's relief. There's clearly some tension that needs to be addressed between the two, and so they have a quick scuffle in the moments that they have left before they absolutely need to leave. The fight isn't fantastic or anything, but it's flashy and the artwork is spectacular. Supplied by Naotoshi Shida, it's another wonderful addition to the series. The two land massive shots on each other before calling it quits. They make their way to the team. It's time to travel to the world of Void for the Tournament of Power. And that concludes the recruitment arc. So what did I think? Honestly, looking back over this section of the show, not having to wait week to week to week for another episode made it much more enjoyable this time around. Now, obviously I still have my issues. I don't really like how the new Saiyans achieve their powers, and I am massively unimpressed with how they just write out Majin Buu like that. I have no issue with the staff not wanting any character to take part, mind you, but at least create a decent reason to exclude them. You know, maybe they are kidnapped, or maybe they don't want to, or maybe their powers are forbidden or something. My point is, anything but falling asleep is okay, especially seeing as this isn't the first time they've used that excuse with this specific character. The one minute aspect that made this somewhat tolerable for me was that the substitute was a much more interesting character to me. Prior to learning Freeza was going to take a spot in the Universe 7 team, I never really cared all that much for the tournament. I mean, I was into it, sort of, but when Freeza was added to the mix, it created an entirely different vibe around the arc. On top of that, the episodes Freeza had in this section are some of my absolute favorites from the entire series, and that includes Dragon Ball Z. From a visual perspective, I thought that this arc was really strong too. Long gone are the days where Goku looked like a plastic figure melting under a magnifying glass. Now we get a consistently higher level of model correctness. In addition to some of the best boarded episodes in this series to date, with the Krillin episode, the 17 recruitment episode, and the battle between Goku and Gohan. Overall, I thought this arc did really well in establishing the stakes, setting up the tournament, and building intrigue around the event. Well, okay, almost everything was taken care of. We see Jiren in this section maybe once or twice. He never talks, and this is supposed to be the big looming threat of the tournament, but we have no idea what he wants, cares about, is. I mean, he could deserve to win the tournament. I don't know. It could be like another Goku. But I'll cover that in the next episode when I tackle the entire tournament from start to finish. I can feel the headaches already. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It really helps the channel. And if you want to keep up to date with my videos, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want the subscription to actually work. As always, I've been Totally Not Mark. I'll see you guys next week, and thank you so much for watching.